There were moments I swore I never would. Some experiences L too tangled, too fragile to ever be spoken out loud. When the house finally settled after the funeral, I understood just how deafening emptiness could be. My husband had once occupied every inch of it as laughter, his habits, his steady presence, and then suddenly there was nothing. The quiet wasn't soothing. It pressed against me, heavy and unyielding. His son had flown in for the service. He wasn't a boy anymore, hadn't been for a long time, but in my mind, he was still the distant teenager who never fully to me. I was never his mother, and I never pretended to be. Our connection had always been courteous, restrained until now. The first night after the ceremony, Ion didn't return to the guest room. Instead, he sat in the living room, a blanket draped over his shoulders, staring into an unlit fireplace. I paused at the doorway, unsure whether to say something or disappear. I chose neither. I made tea, assuming he'd fall asleep or excuse himself. He didn't. When I returned with 2 cups, he looked up at me not with grief sharpened by anger, but with exhaustion and questions he couldn't voice. I handed him the tea and sat beside him. No conversation followed, just silence. The kind shaped by shared loss, not comfort. Our arms brushed. The contact sent a quiet spark through me. It should have meant nothing. It didn't. The days that followed blurred together. He stayed longer, saying he wanted to help me organize things. I didn't protest. His presence was oddly steady, calm, yet charged. He moved through the house like someone both known and unfamiliar, and I began noticing details I never had before. His jaw mirrored his father's, sharper now. His voice had deepened, settling into a low tone that lingered in the mornings. Sometimes he'd wake early, shirtless, making coffee like the kitchen belonged to him. I watched. I told myself not to, but my gaze betrayed me. Broad shoulders, quiet confidence, controlled movements. I hated myself for seeing it. One evening, I found him in the garage, sorting through my husband's tools. Dust coated his hands, veins standing out beneath the dim light. He glanced back and smiled open. Genuine. He never let me use these when I was younger, he said. I stepped closer. He always said you'd hurt yourself. He laughed softly. He might have been right. That smile stayed with me longer than it should have. That night, sleep wouldn't come. The hallway between our rooms shorter, more charged. His voice replayed in my head, smooth and steady. I tried distracting myself, reading, cleaning, letting late night shows hum in the background, but the loneliness pressed down on me. I missed the simple closeness of another person, the of being wanted. I heard movement from his room. Maybe he couldn't sleep either. My hand hovered near the doorknob, then dropped. I turned to leave, but the door opened. He looked surprised briefly. Can't sleep? He asked quietly. I shook my head. You? He stepped aside. You can come in if you want. I should have declined. I should have smiled politely and retreated like a woman who understood limits. I didn't. The door closed behind me. We stood there unmoving, silent. He was close, close enough that the heat of him. Something passed between us, raw and unspoken. I don't know what's happening, I whispered, ashamed of the tremor in my voice. Me neither, he said, stepping nearer, his brushed mind barely there yet electric. The air charged, almost alive. We sat on the edge of the bed. The sheets were cool. His room smelled faintly of clean laundry and cologne. He watched me carefully as if searching my face for permission or restraint. I shouldn't be here, I murmured, making no move to leave. His hand found mine again, this time steady and certain. I don't think you're wrong for needing someone. What followed wasn't planned. No speeches, no decision, just a slow, careful unfolding. His hand rested on my arm, grounding, traced my back in small, deliberate circles like he was learning me by. I closed my eyes. My cot, everything heightened. The quiet house, the sheets beneath us, the strength in his arms, the steady rise and fall of his chest. His was gentle, unhurried, as though he feared shattering something delicate. Nothing was frantic, nothing reckless. It was depth, intention, soft, the faint creak of the mattress. He took his time. He listened to the silences in me, to the parts I thought were long asleep. My heart raced so loudly I swore he could hear it. For a moment, his forehead rested against mine, both of us still, as if moving too quickly might undo everything. Tears filled my eyes, not from sorrow, but from how unprepared I was to feel so alive again. Afterward, we lay side by side. Our hands found each other instinctively. The room now. Whole words failed me. There was no way to explain how two people who had never been close could find themselves clinging to each other. desperate for something other than grief. Guilt came in waves, not because of him, but because of what it meant, what it might look like, what my husband would think. Still, when I turned away, his grip tightened slightly. You okay? He asked. I nodded. You? He exhaled slowly. I haven't this steady in a long time. We didn't sleep right away. Hours passed as we shifted, talked softly, shared pieces of ourselves we'd never said aloud. He spoke about his distance from his father, how he'd always seen me as calm, unreachable. I told him how unseen I'd in this house, how even as a wife, I'd always existed just beyond the center. He brushed a strand of hair from my face. Careful, gentle. You don't have to justify anything to me, he said. I'm here because I choose to be. The simplicity of it cracked something open in me. Morning arrived quietly, sunlight spilling across the room in soft gold. I watched him sleep for a long time before rising. My reflection in the mirror looked different, not younger, not lighter, but awake. When I returned, he was sitting up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He looked at me without questions, only understanding. We didn't talk about what came next. Somehow, I knew we'd take it slowly. One quiet morning at a time, he stayed. And for the first time since the funeral, the silence in the house didn't lie empty. It like space, like H returning to lungs that had forgotten how to expand. I stopped resisting. I let it surround me, whatever it was, whatever it might become, because maybe in the midst of all that loss, something unexpected had found its way in. Not a replacement, not an answer, just a reason to keep going. Grief doesn't arrive alone. It brings strange hungers, quiet risks, and moments where comfort feels like survival rather than choice. Sync to video time.